Hi, I'm Kyle Gerard with A+ Flooring and Construction. We're extremely excited about our brand new location here on 371 Georgia Highway 338, Dublin, Georgia. Just a small drive to the country. So come out and see us at 371 Georgia Highway 338 in Dublin, Georgia, or give us a call, 478-676-2662.
From humble beginnings with a desire to serve the Dudley community, Bank of Dudley has grown to 5 locations, serving Lawrence, Twiggs, and surrounding counties. Serving our community since 1905, the Bank of Dudley is looking forward to its 2nd century of community banking. Drop in today to any of our 5 locations: Jeffersonville, Dudley, East Dublin, Veterans Boulevard, and downtown Dublin. Bank of Dudley, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender.
Welcome everybody. I'm glad to have with me today our interim chief of police here in the city of Dublin. We've been trying to get together for a while. You not only stay busy, but you wear many hats, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do.
The only thing I guess you don't, maybe you have put out fires before.
I feel.
Proverbial fires, maybe. And I know being a police officer, you and I were talking yesterday, just the many things you have to do. And you've had to arson investigate, you've had to investigate this and that. But you know, a police officer, chief, wears many hats during the day.
Yes.
You may be a judge or jury or a negotiator or so many things that goes into being a police officer, doesn't it?
Yes, a lot of things, a lot of aspects of it too. And you have to be able to take one cap off and put one on very quickly in this job. And you know, I think, me and you've talked about this before, is we have to remind that our officers that we don't deal with a lot of people in the public. We only deal with about 20% of the public on any given year, and 80% of that public probably see us drive by and see us going down the road, but they actually never interact with us. And of that percentage, there's only a small percentage of that 20 that are actually committing a lot of the crimes in Dublin, and we have to, you know, stay vigilant and make sure we focus that we don't treat the 80% like we do that small percentage of people, you know. And I always tell them, don't ever use authority when no authority is needed, because what we have been entrusted with is a very delicate thing. Mm-hmm. And we may get our authority from the law or the Constitution of Georgia, but we get our legitimacy from the public. Mm-hmm. And we want to be a part of this community. Yeah. We want to be a team with the community, and we don't want to be fighting with the community. Yeah. We don't want to be at odds with the community, and because we live here. Yeah. We go to the same grocery stores, the same pharmacies. We stop and get our gas at the same places. So we are a part of this community, and we're in it. Yeah. You know. And I think the drive that we need to have is to understand that we are part of that community and to make it better for everybody here. So.
Well, I'm older than you are, but when I was little, we'd go to the cafeteria in the lunchroom, and the milk carton says, "The police officer is your friend."
Yes.
It was always like that. We knew if we were in trouble or something, we were scared or whatever, run to a police officer, because it was that sanctuary where we felt safe. They would help us, and that's what it should be today, isn't it?
Yes, yes, we are here to help. I know that law enforcement is especially in the last 5 to 6 years, has been painted in a negative light. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, with some people doing bad things, all officers are painted in a bad light. Yeah. And that's just not reality.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say that an officer's job is not dangerous at times. You never know what's going to come over that radio. You never know what the next call is going to be. But most of our time in a work day is spent interacting with the community. And it's almost like me and you sitting here talking.
Yeah.
And you have to have those communication skills. And you have to be able to talk to people. And like I said before, you know, when we're sitting here talking, I don't need the authority that is given to me behind this badge.
Yeah.
We can accomplish so much more by communication, you know. And like I said, most of the time these officers are out there and they're having conversations with the community. We get called to a call, you know, we may not have to do anything but write a report, but during that report, we're learning something about people in that area of Dublin, in that neighborhood, in that apartment complex, in that business. So,
Do you agree or disagree? I know police officers get a bad rap throughout the country, but I believe on this side of the fence, not being a law enforcement officer, I hear people all the time that support the police and want the police more in their communities, but do you agree or disagree? Aren't we exempt from a lot of those things that you see in other parts of the country? I know we still have some problems, I'm not saying that, but I don't see a lot of the same problems. People around here, maybe a little bit of that 20% you talked about, maybe those, but most people are on the same side. You know that thin blue line that we talk about? Well, we're on that side too. I say we, law-abiding citizens. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree with that. We have tremendous support from our community. We were down at Father's Family Fest Saturday, and you know, it's real. That is probably one of the favorite part of my job is to get out into stuff like that, because there's so many people that walk by and say, we love our Dublin Police Department. And here's the key to that. We love our Dublin, because it's theirs.
Yes.
Not mine.
That's right.
You know, I'm in this chair for a season. Some of these officers are in this job for a season. But at the end of the day, this police department belongs to the citizens of Dublin. And where I was talking about legitimacy earlier, that's where a lot of that comes from. We have tremendous support from the community. And we don't just see it when we're at community events either. There are unfortunately times when we have to go into the community and we have to effect arrests, serve warrants, whatever we have to do. And I cannot tell you how many times people come out of their houses and say, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, that was a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that y'all are here doing something. And it really helps you to get that feedback, because it would scare me if I didn't get that feedback, that there's a disconnect somewhere, and we need to find out what it is and fix it. So,
Well, there's so many people I talk to have lived in ABC Street 40 years, 50 years, paid their house off. You know, they worked hard, paid their taxes, and done the things that we as Americans want to accomplish. But all of a sudden, they wake up one day. It didn't happen in one day, but they wake up one day and there's crime everywhere, and they can't sit on the front porch, and they can't enjoy the fruits of their labor. And we know that's a problem, but where do you fix it? I mean, it's many-fold probably, but those are the people I just feel sorry for, that are living in a crime-ridden communities, and you can't do anything about a crime until it's committed a lot of times. You can show, we were talking off camera about the heat cars a while ago, but I do see police officers just sitting in certain neighborhoods now.
yes.
That's a deterrent.
Yes, and sometimes we get negative feedback from that, and a lot of times when you see an officer sitting somewhere, you say, well, they're not doing something. A lot of times they're told to be there to show presence in those areas. And you know, when you were talking earlier about crime in our neighborhoods and stuff like that, one thing I think there's a misconception about law enforcement is, and I know over the past 20 years this has really turned around and we're starting to recognize it. You know, we have our own faults. And of course, dealing with those faults is first to recognize what it is, and then try to fix it. But you cannot rely on the police department to solve all the problems of the community. But if we work together, we can solve a lot of those problems. And, you know, we're having staffing issues just like everybody else in any industry, not just law enforcement. But we have to have the help of the community to eradicate crime in certain areas, okay, and to know what's going on. Because what we really don't want to do is we don't want to get to a point where people are just basically retreating into their houses and saying, you know, I don't want anything to do with anybody because there's nobody going to help, okay. Even with our limited resource, we've got a lot of good people down here that are driven to do the right thing, that are coming up with new ideas and best practices, and we're constantly looking at what we're doing and say, okay, are we really doing the best we can do? And if we're not, let's back up and punt. Let's back up and look at it from a different angle. And going out into these neighborhoods and looking and seeing what the cause is, and my interim assistant chief right now is basically looking at hotspots in the city and how can we deploy our forces better. You know, we don't want to take a blunt force approach to crime because unfortunately, you know, and I know this is an analogy, but we don't need to be fishing with a net, we need to be fishing with a spear. We need to be targeting those people who are making life in Dublin where, you know, you can't sit on your front porch. And unfortunately, in times past, a lot of police agencies, they fish with a net. They go in and it's everybody's the same in this certain area and we're just going to do this and that. And you really alienate the public when you do that, because we're trying to get the person in the neighborhood who's causing the problems the reason you can't sit on your front porch, the reason you can't let your kids you know, ride their bikes down the street. We're not trying to get somebody trying to get to the local store to get some diapers at 10 o'clock at night. We don't need interaction with those. Those people are trying to live their lives the best they can. They're trying to work hard, come home, have a family, and you know, and hopefully have some good times in the meantime. We don't want those people to get caught up in what we're trying to do in crime prevention. So,
well, I fall on the side. I live down out in the country, down the hill from a church, and every day I see Lawrence County Sheriff cars sitting up there. I don't care if they're eating chicken or doing whatever, because I know the criminal element that comes out my way is going to keep right on moving if they see that presence of law enforcement. Well, and with computers these days, they can do multiple tasks in those cars, even with our phones that you and I turned off a while ago, I think. But I can do so many things. If I'm out there waiting on you for a minute, I can answer emails, I can send emails, we can do all these things. So we can multitask. That does not mean they're doing nothing. And I think that's the point I was hearing you say a minute ago. So I'm proud to see our law enforcement sitting here and there, and they are and we got to be the eyes and ears. They're eyes and ears, but like you said, you ain't got that big a ear or them big a eyes where you can watch all things all the time. So you need our community.
Well, to expound on that a little bit also, you know, the mayor and city council have worked with us very well about putting more technology in the car. And, you know, some people, you know, they might frown on technology, but what it does for the police officer is it keeps them in the field longer. What we don't want, and you know, over the coming, you know, 6 months to maybe a year, we're going to equip all our vehicles with in-car computers. We're doing their reports, running their checks, their GCIC checks, their emails, whatever they need to do. Because what we're seeing now is we write a lot of reports in Dublin. We have quite a few accidents here because of the influx of traffic during the day. And what we're seeing is we're having a problem with officers. They get out there and they do some reports, and they got to come all the way back here to do them. And you know, I think the interim city manager Josh Powell was sitting there jotting down on a note one day, and he was calculating how much time it takes to come back, just to come back. And I think, and don't hold me to this, but I think it was something like an officer might spend, I think, 8 days a year doing nothing but driving back to the police department around reports, if you compound all those minutes driving back here. So what we're trying to do also is make sure they're efficient. And I think it'll go a long way with them because they're wanting to be more efficient, and they're wanting to stay out on the street more and serve the citizens. So.
You mentioned a while ago this season of your life. What mostly prepared you? I know you've been doing this. You're getting on up kind of close to 30 years now. So when you look back at your career in law enforcement, what prepared you most for this season in your life?
Well, I think initially when I first started in Telfair County, my base come from my parents. My parents taught us from a very young age to treat people right, treat people like you want to be treated, and it's easy to say, it's harder to do. And I think after they told us that, me and my brother, they actually showed us how to do it. And sometimes you're going to be uncomfortable doing it.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss sometimes is caring for each other. Even though if I don't know your name, it might be uncomfortable sometimes, but it needs to be done, because I think if we look at one of the biggest things that causes so many problems in our society is the lack of respect for each other, the lack of help for each other, and just stopping and take a few minutes out of your day to make somebody else's day better. And I got that from my parents early on. Between their talking and their discipline, that had to come from time to time, and from Granny's discipline, and and a good some people that just pointed us in the right direction. Later on in my life, and especially at this season in my life, I fall heavily or completely on my faith in God. Again. There are some uncomfortable things that you have to do in your faith, but they're the right things, because you're always being led by a spirit that is always going to help you to do good things. And I think that's probably my basis now in the season of my life, and it's prepared me the most, because I too am here because we have a lot of good people in this department. And I just wanted to make sure that, first of all, they have the support internally that they need to do their jobs, and to help them also have the support externally from the community that they need to do their jobs, and make sure they feel appreciated.
Amen.
And that they're not just a number on a piece of paper. So.
Because they're not.
No.
They are real people. And I want to talk more about those people. We've got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
All right, boys, if you want to go to college, you have to clear out another one of these.
What if we told you there was a better way to save for your kids' college than pickle jars? Morris Bank's Savings Builder account and moolah makes saving for your kids' college easier than ever. All you have to do is connect the account to your debit card, where it automatically rounds up your purchases to the nearest dollar, depositing that spare change into a moolah account, where it will grow into a nice little nest egg for whatever your kids have their sights set on.
I'm Heath Richter, and we just want to invite everybody to come on down to the Houston Clinic and check us out at our new facility. We've been in Dublin for a while now, obviously, but have a new office here, and we'd just like you to come down and see some of the new stuff we're offering. And if you need to get checked out, we'd be glad to do that for you. We've got able to do some ultrasound guided injections now, and physical therapy, and just a little bit better space, so hopefully we can get you in and out of here a little bit quicker.
Come by and see us today at our brand new location, the Houston Clinic, Medical Drive in Dublin.
Conservative treatment options are typically where we start with both knee and hip arthritis. So if you come in to see us and your hip is beginning to be arthritic or your knee's beginning to be arthritic, there's sort of a stepwise approach that we take. Anti-inflammatories, which are medicines like Motrin, Advil, Aleve, are usually sort of first line. We have prescription forms of those medications that we can use. In our elderly population, that becomes a little more difficult because they have comorbidities, things like diabetes or stomach ulcers or disease, that they can't take those medications, even hypertension. So we'll try to treat them with medications if it's appropriate. When it's not, then we go on to things like injections. So cortisone injections, or there's these things called visco injections or visco supplements, which are lubricating type injections that we can use to treat knee arthritis as well as hip arthritis to try to control people's pain. And a lot of times we do that for years for people before they get to the point where those are no longer working and we're ready to talk about knee or hip replacement.
Welcome back, everybody. Continuing my conversation with our interim chief of police here in the city of Dublin, Chief Moon. But we were talking about people a minute ago. Let's go a little further with that because your people are everything.
Yes.
Let's brag on them a minute.
I was telling someone the other day, sometimes you hear people talk about this job is stressful, and they're riding around in these cars all day long, and they got that radio sitting down there below the seat. And I think one of the most stressful things that happens to a police officer, or a law enforcement officer for that matter, is not knowing when you hear that break in that radio what's going to come over it. And you know, we teach, you know, our officers to be on certain threat levels. And when they can lower that threat level, or where they need to be extra vigilant and be aware of your surroundings and stuff like that, especially when we're training young officers. But when you're on duty, there's a constant always where you're riding around not knowing what's about to come over that. You might be fixing to go help somebody who locked their keys in their car or their house, or locked themselves out of their house, or you might be responding to a major incident, and you're having to ride around, you know, thinking about that all day and all night. What are they fixing to send me to? Because they don't have a choice to say no. They have to go, whatever comes over that radio, they have to go do it, you know, so. And great people in law enforcement. I don't think people understand that a lot, what people have committed themselves to do. And not only that, but just those officers who understand that we're not at war with anybody in the community. We are part of the community, and who go that extra mile. And I mean, we have some up and coming officers that are trying to find their sea legs, I guess, trying to find that balance. And then we have officers who are getting out there in the community that are encouraging their fellow officers. And our supervisors who are trying to make sure that officers are trained, first of all. That's one of the biggest things that we need in law enforcement. We don't have enough training for what we do, and we really need to focus more on that. A trained department equals a professional department. And also our supervisors on a daily basis are going in there and they're encouraging their officers under them, whether it's other supervisors or whatever, and coaching them along. You know, I can remember probably when I got in law enforcement, they handed you a map and some keys to a car and said, good luck, you know, just whatever comes over that radio, respond to it. And of course, we found out that was in error a long time ago, and we fought through it. But we certainly don't leave our people hanging like that anymore. We'll equip them with what they need. Not just equipment, but the knowledge that they need. And through our FTO program, giving them the basis to begin a professional career. And as we were talking a few minutes ago, I told you that this right here is just a piece of metal unless it's got integrity behind it.
Yeah.
And so we also are heavy about integrity, you know, doing the right thing when nobody's watching.
That's
so.
right. Well, training's always been important to you. I was talking to you yesterday, and I said, you had to train thousands of people through the years. And you said, well, I don't know about thousands, but it just seems like that to me, because you have trained on the range. I call it the shooting range.
Yeah.
What gun range, I guess, might be appropriate, but training is deep in your soul, isn't it?
Yes, yes. It's probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in law enforcement is being an instructor. Back in 2006, got my general instructor's certificate and moved on through firearms and taser and use of force. Taught most of the use of force classes here, which is, you know, a high liability, but it's also that topic that we need to be talking more about. We never want our officers to be under-equipped when it comes to being able to decide when to use force and when not to. And, you know, we call it a critical task around here and we train on it a lot. But we don't want to put our people into a situation where they think that's the only way out. And that's why we have a lot of classes based on, you know, de-escalation, which I had a colleague of mine tell me one time de-escalations became real big in the last 5 years, and he came up to me one day and he said, "You've been teaching this 5 years ago." And I said, "Yeah." I said, you know, communicate, talk to people. Sometimes people want to de-escalate, and we need to recognize that, and we need to take that opportunity where, you know, we can talk somebody and resolve the situation rather than having to use force. But yeah, I've done a lot of, I don't know about thousands, and I may have lost count, I don't know, but it is rewarding. And, you know, especially, you know, we were talking about feedback from the community. It's really rewarding when you get feedback from the officers. You know, you said something the other day that's really stuck with me, you know, and I used that, and I see what you're talking about now. They went out and applied it, and it worked. And now, you know, it's almost a staple in what they do every day. But it's probably one of the most rewarding things that I've done up until this point right now. So, and I've really enjoyed it.
Well, I want to make this clear. The Dublin Police Department, any law enforcement agency, is not just those people you see riding around in the cars. Your support staff, every woman, every man that's behind they come to work every day for the Dublin Police Department, and they are behind the scenes. But they're just as important as the men and women that go out in the vehicles, aren't they?
Oh my gosh, the support staff around here is great, and you know, every chance I get, I go to Chick-fil-A or somewhere or some restaurant and bring them something and just let them know how much we appreciate them. And I know I call the administrative coordinator or text her sometime and say, "Hey, what's everybody want for breakfast?" Because you know, y'all are great. We could not do this, and we have a lot of our what we call our non-sworn staff that step up every day, and you know, looking for best practices. You know, also making sure that our non-sworn personnel and that workflow that we got going with them is efficient. You know. Because we want people to do their job, but we also don't want them to recreate the wheel every day also. Yeah. And they do a great job at that. They've been going real heavy for the last 3 months. We took a real long look at the way we handle everything internally, because we have a lot of paper coming through here, and a lot of documentation that comes through here. And working with so many different agencies on the outside, and making sure that we have good liaisons in place to work with those agencies and developing our communication channels with them to make sure that the taxpayers are getting, you know, their money's worth out of us. And they've done a great job of that. And we have found so many things that they improved on themselves, and they brought it to me and said, "Hey, can we change it?" Absolutely, you know. And thank you for looking at that.
Yeah.
And thank you for looking at the best ways to do it. And yeah, the support staff, invaluable, you know, and I can't sing their praises enough, you know. And I know sometimes they're hidden in some of these rooms around here, but be assured they're working just like everybody else too. So.
Oh, I get to see those things here at the Sheriff Department and different places. I have Life 360 on my phone, dealing with the homeless all the time. I want people to know, especially my wife, where I am. And she called me not long ago. She said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, hon, what's wrong?" She said, "Well, Life 360 says you're in the Johnson County Jail." I said, "Well, I am in it, but everything's fine." She ought to knew. She said, "Oh my gosh, he's in jail." But you know, I get to see the backgrounds of these different sheriff's department, police departments, and I say all that to frame this question: How is your relationship with the GBI State Patrol, Lawrence County Sheriff Department, people like that?
Well, we've had some meetings with all of those agencies, and me and Sheriff Dean have talked several times, and we're trying to find ways to put our crime suppression units together to do more for the community and jointly to help with that. We've already started on some things that I won't talk about. But we've also reached out to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and some other federal agencies, and we are about to, they're still trying to get settled in, but we have a joint operations office here in the building now that is assigned to GBI and FBI to be able to come in here and work in this town, in this environment, whenever they want to. They can get in the door without asking, and they can come in, because our cooperation with these agencies is vital. We have to have help, and we have to make sure that we have good relationships with them. The post commander out at GSP Post, we stay in contact, and they've come in and done some stuff with us, you know, and all these, gosh, I hate to leave anybody out, you know, GBI over in Eastman, you know, Lindsay and her staff over there, great people, come by here, you know, and stop in anytime, you know, and are welcome here. East Dublin Police Department, Chief Lukey, you know, stay in touch with him, and I know I'm gonna leave somebody out, but
always,
I know, and but just so the citizens know that we are cooperating with all law enforcement agencies, and trying to find ways that we can work together better and be more efficient and be more proactive in the community. So,
and I've heard those same comments back from Chief Lukey and the sheriff and people like that, but. Sheriff Bill Harrell told me one time, we were talking about Billy Lukey, me and him graduated together, same age, but I know I look so much younger, but anyway, he told me, he said, "James, Billy Lukey is one of the best investigators in this county, and the reason for that, and you know this, is you gotta have the trust of the community where they can tell you or Chief Lukey or Major Rowland or whoever, they can tell you without ever worrying about their name coming up." And that's so important to effective policing, isn't it?
yes, and you know, we do a lot of new things in training and stuff like that, sending our officers to different classes up in Forsyth or wherever they may be. But one of the root things that you have to remember that you have to be able to do in this business, and we don't want to call it an old thing, we want to call it vital, is communicating with people and actually being able to carry on a conversation with them, you know, and actually being able to see somebody in the grocery store, even if you're in uniform, and actually being able to carry on a conversation and communicate with people, because Like I said in the beginning, we all live here and we're going to the same places, you know, and interaction with the community is vital.
Yeah.
It's okay to stop and talk,
Yeah.
you know, and we have to, you know, we have to constantly remind our police officers, and like we were talking earlier about a lot of the trends that we're seeing now in the country, and not just in the country, but in the world, we have to remind them, you have a great support system in Dublin.
Yeah.
You know, don't think you don't. Don't shelter yourself where you don't ever let someone say, hey, we're grateful for what you're doing. Amen. We're grateful that you're out there at night while we're sleeping. We're grateful that you're taking those calls, you know. And it's okay to stop and have those conversations because we do have a community that's behind us.
Amen. So. Amen. I hear that side of it too. Y'all stay with us. We'll be back right after this. The City of Dublin, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Your city to live, work, and play.
I'm Brian Bazemore, President and CEO of Community Bank of Dublin-Lawrence County. We would like to invite you to come by and experience a welcoming banking environment. Come by today and have a cup of coffee and let us talk with you about our many products, savings accounts, checking accounts, CDs, and our many loans. You're more than just a number to us, you're family. Come by today, Community Bank of Dublin-Lawrence County, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Summer's right around the corner, and you know what that means. It's vacation time. Here at Dublin Nissan, we can get you ready for vacation, whether it's a new Nissan or Chevrolet, or just servicing your current vehicle. And guys, if you're looking for a new fishing truck, you can't go wrong with this all-new 22 Frontier. And if your needs are bigger, we got the trucks for you too. It's your choice. I know what mine is. Remember, Don sells Corvettes well. Hurry in to Dublin Chevy Nissan.
Welcome back, everybody. Continuing my conversation here. School's out.
Yes.
And all the kids, I was with some kids yesterday, and I said, are y'all sad school's out? And they said, no, we're not sad. But most kids are out. And with that, Chief, you're not thinking straight, you're not paying attention, you're running, getting the ball in the street, whatever. But share with us some safety tips that would make y'all's job a little better and keep our children safe.
Well, you know, I'm glad they're excited. School's out, and
we remember that.
Yes, we do, and you waited on that day. You know, I think one of the biggest things, and I hear this from a lot of officers on a patrol division, to keep your kids safe this season, make sure you know where they're at. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of people that are working, and some people are working 2 and 3 jobs. Make sure you know where they're at, you know, I'd like for you to bring them in at 10 o'clock, you know, if you could, but I know that's not always the case. But you know, we talk about children, and I know you know this. You know, our playground was in the yard, and that's a great place and everything. But there's so many activities that are going on in Dublin during the summer. You know, get them involved in stuff and occupy those minds and give them something positive. So many great organizations doing so many great things in Dublin, and just research that. And we try, when we find out something, to put it on our social media pages about what's going on for children in the summer. And I think the biggest thing is just know where they're at and know what they're doing. Get involved in your children's life. It's okay to get involved in their life and know what's going on. Know who they're hanging around with. Know what they're doing, what they're watching, and stuff like that. And let them know that you're involved in what they're doing and that you care about what they're doing. So.
Yeah. And I've heard you say it over and over in certain ways, but communication is the key to marriages, work, relationship, children. Communicate. Get off that phone, look me in the eye, like you were talking in the store a while ago, and I was thinking.
We're going to show our age if we start talking about phones now. But
ain't that the truth? But when we were growing up, when I was growing up, Mama said, y'all be in by dark now. Of course, the only problem with that, our dark and her dark was different.
Exactly.
Because it really wasn't dark, Mama.
So Mama finally said, when the street lights come on, you should be inside. Yes.
Had to change up on that. Speaking, carrying on with safety, the Crime Stoppers program. How does a community get involved with that?
Right now, we just had a new officer, or an officer that's been here a while, but he's taken over this. Darnell, I call him Tim Hall, who works with our crime suppression units, is taking over our neighborhood watch. He's very excited about that. Good. And during the pandemic and the COVID season that we had, a lot of those programs, we had difficulty with them, but we're starting to see where we can get back together and we can start engaging in neighborhood watch and stuff like that. And we get a lot of feedback from these organizations because a lot of people, they don't want to call 911 about something, but there's an issue, but it's not an emergency. And that is the right thing to do. Of course, we always say when in doubt, call 911. But we get a lot of feedback from those neighborhood watch programs about what's going on. And I think a lot of times the community thinks, well, they know everything. No, we don't. We don't know everything that's going on. Yeah. And sometimes we'll have somebody from the neighborhood watch program come in, an officer come back in and say, hey, I heard this the other night at this neighborhood watch. And we're like, really? Well, we need to go address that, you know, and of course we have crime text and you can call down here. We still have a operating phone number down here that you can call. You don't have to do it by text or anything. You can call us and talk to us. We got people, you know, that can communicate with you and take those suggestions, complaints, whatever they are, so that we can address them. And I think that's invaluable. And again, that's about communication with the community. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're excited about what Officer Hall is doing with it, and wish him, you know, we're going to support him the best we can. So.
And all you have to do is call down here.
Yes.
Get with Officer Hall. He'll explain it, take care of it. And we have some really, really good neighborhood watch programs. And I was talking to one the other day. They're just so excited how it's working, and so it's good for the community, it's good for the police department, and like you said earlier, put it all together. We're all one community.
Yes.
You know, we're all one team, and I probably say this 10 times a week. I need all the help I can get. I let people know, please help me. Please, you know, constructive criticism. You don't have to be mean about it, but tell me, please help me, you know, so we can all do better. And we were talking in private yesterday. You said the same thing. So, you know, if you think you can help the Dublin Police Department, by all means, tell somebody. Don't have to be him, but somebody that you know, you trust, you go to church with, whatever it might be, or in the aisle of Piggly Wiggly.
Yes.
You know, just tell them.
Send us a letter, send us a text, send us, you know, call us. You know, however you can get that information to us.
Yeah, make it easy on yourself.
We read it and we analyze it and we look at it. And like I said, sometimes we're surprised by what we see, you know, and that we didn't know something was going on somewhere or some feedback we get from the community, but we always welcome it. So.
Okay, the last couple of things. What's the hardest part of your job?
One of the hardest things, I think, and I think a lot of people sometimes forget this, that we're human beings too. And one of the hardest things, I think, in this business, and we really promote this and have for many years at the Dublin Police Department, is there comes a time when these officers have to disconnect from what they're doing and they have to be about their family. And sometimes it's hard to turn that off.
Yeah.
You know, our family base and our family support system is so important to what we do. There has to be a reprieve at some point in time, you know, from being at that level all the time when you're at work. And I think it's hard for us to shut it off. And the reason I say that is I talk to people who've retired from here and who've left this profession, you know, and went to something else. And they have a hard time assimilating back into, I guess, what we may call normalcy, you know. And I think it's a hard balance for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people think that, you know, once you take that uniform off, that's the end of the day, and that is not true at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to disconnect. And you know, I read somewhere one time, or somebody told me this, that in order for you to, you know, truly have a vacation, you need to take 9 days off. And I submitted that to Human Resources. But no, I'm just playing. But no, and it might have been Human Resources that said that. But it's hard to keep that balance. And, you know, I think sometimes people think we go home and we don't talk about this at home, because you got to disconnect from it, and you got to be able to come back down for a little time and have that balance. And I think that's one of the hardest things for a police officer.
Yeah,
So,
hard to relax.
yes, it's very hard to relax.
Yeah,
You know?
those 9 days, what I see you saying is need 3 to decompress.
Yes.
And then the rest of it, maybe that last day you're saying, oh my goodness, I got to get back to work tomorrow, that kind of thing. But those other 6 days, possibly you have decompressed. And I know that there's so much PTSD, I think, in law enforcement because of the things y'all see. Where I'm running away, y'all are running in, and you run into some really tragic things that, you know, a lot of times, so many times.
Well, and you know, that's a good point you make, and a lot of people think about when you say police officer and you say what they're doing and stuff like this, the first thing that comes to mind is the high intensity things, you know, running into a building when everybody's running out, or being able to help a victim of something right then and knowing what to do until you could get paramedics or fire on the scene, who are a great support system for us. And we always go to that. But I go back to what I said a while ago about these officers riding around in this car, and they're always, you know, what's next? And you never actually just get to take that deep breath and know that, you know, there's some quietness or silence coming behind that, and until you get home, and that's why it's kind of hard sometimes to disconnect. And that riding around in that vehicle and waiting, what is the next call, is probably about 95% of our job.
Yeah, always on guard.
Always on guard.
Yeah,
So
it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Last thing, just the opposite of that. What's the most fun about your job?
Interacting with people. And I know sometimes, and my wife does this, you know, she tugs me sometimes, let's go, you've held them here long enough. Love getting out in the community and talking to people, and I always have. When I started out in Telfair County back in '93, I was on the patrol division down there, and, you know, just going, and I know we've come a long way in those years, but you know, going by and sitting on those porches and talking to people, or seeing them out there in the yard working, stopping and talking to them. You know, our call volume is a lot higher now. We don't get as much chance to do that here, but that is probably one of the most rewarding things in law enforcement is to be able to interact with people, and then knowing that hopefully something you did in that day helped somebody. You know. Well,
it does. I said that thin blue line earlier, but you have a big support group. This community is behind that thin blue line, and I want you to know, all of our officers out here, and let me just say to the public, you know, you say, well, they know I appreciate them. Well, tell them. It's like my pastor. I'll tell my Sunday school class, make sure you love our pastor. Well, we do love him. I said, have you told him lately?
Yes. And I was going to ask you if I could do that before we ended. Thank you to the community for giving us that positive feedback, and sometimes the negative feedback. We need to know those things so that we can be better at what we do. And I also want to thank our city manager and our mayor and council, who are very supportive of this organization and all the organizations in the city, and are taking leaps and bounds just to make sure that we have the things that we need to do our job, and I just want to thank them also.
Absolutely. There's about 260 employees with the city of Dublin, and I get to watch sanitation work with the fire department, or the water and the gas department, or the police and fire, or whatever, because so many times we have storm damage. You need police officers on site, you need fire department on site, you need sanitation, you need the public works on site. So all y'all join together.
Yes.
And lock together. And you don't have the problems I see in other communities. I'll just leave it at that. But y'all do work so well, whether it's Mr. Coney at sanitation or you or Chief Cutler, whoever. It's not like this is my territory, you don't come over here. But because I've been on the scene of these things, filming, and I see and I say, oh my goodness, this is so good to watch y'all work together. So I get to see things a lot of people don't. But to me, and I'll have to tell y'all, it is a good feeling to know that we live in a community, I live in a community where we cooperate, communicate's been the key word today, and work together.
And you remind me, I told you earlier I was going to leave somebody out.
Yeah.
And I did. And that's the other departments in this city. When we had this storm here a few weeks ago, some of the red lights went out.
Yeah.
And our engineering department, they have been great. Water treatment plant, groundwater plant. Even though it's not in their purview, they actually help us go out and they bring their generators out, and we get those red lights. We don't have enough generators for all of them. But just a great team effort to get those red lights and make sure things are running smoothly here. Yeah. And that's a perfect example because I think it was years ago, somebody in the engineering department, it was just a simple conversation, inquired, when we have storm damage and these red lights go out, can we wire them up so we can just plug a generator? Oh yeah, and they got it going. And it's just things like that, that help out so much, and I don't want to leave them out because the other departments in the city, I know they support us and we support them. So.
Amen. And I have seen them, Chief, red light go out, y'all hadn't got there yet, and I'll see Mr. Coney directing traffic. I've seen citizens get out because there's danger ahead. I've seen actual citizens get out and they'll be directing you around, and so it is so good, and I hope we hadn't left anybody else out. But the city of Dublin, from the top to the bottom, sideways to the other side, it does a good job. And we were talking yesterday. I told you I was on the last question, but we were talking yesterday about those exact things where people work together. And once you get on camera, you say, oh no, I left so-and-so out. Yes. And in a little while when I leave, I'm going to say, oh my goodness.
Well, I probably have an email on my computer over there from somebody that said, hey, shout out to me every now and then. So,
but thank you for what you do. We're thankful for the Dublin Police Department, the whole city of Dublin. And want to thank you for joining us today on another edition of Discover Dublin.
I'm John Coursey. I met Dr. K in September of last year. First appointment, he went whole body. Instead of trying to do just one section, he looked at the whole body and discovered that I had 35% heart function in my heart and 90% blockages in my left leg and about 60% blockage in my right leg. I felt like he was looking out for me, not for himself. He actually drew my problem out on a whiteboard so that I could understand what was going on. Over the course of 6 months, he put 2 stents in my heart, 5 stents in my left leg, 1 stent in my right leg, and I've gone from being able to walk maybe 50 feet to as far as I feel like I want to go. He has changed my quality of life to the better, and I think he is the best doctor I have ever been to. And I recommend anybody, and have recommended to several people, to come see Dr. K so that he can fix their problems as well. The staff, City of Hope is a great place to go. They are so friendly. They call me by name when I go in and sit down. I don't even have to sign in anymore. They call me by name after the first visit. Thank you. You've changed my life, made it 10 times better than it was 6 months ago. When I went to Dr. K, I felt like I was on the way out of this world. Couldn't walk, couldn't do what I wanted to do. My quality of life was low. Today it's high. I believe he saved my life. What can you say to somebody to save your life? Thank you.